And it's Ken Kreitzer for CBSI Services, Talking Business. We're in Washington, D.C. today. Have a chance to visit 360 Live Media and our friend Don Neal. Don, great to see you. We met a few years ago when you were working with the Direct Marketing Association. Tell us a little bit about your company. Good to see you today.
Thanks, Ken. Good to be here. 360 Live Media is an association accelerator. We work with trade associations, industry associations, professional societies, and we help them reimagine their business model to be 21st century organizations.
Very good. Well, the association business, I've gone to meetings of major marketing groups for 30 years or so. How has the association business changed in recent years to accommodate all the media and to all the changes that have happened in business?
A lot of people, Ken, don't know the power of associations in terms of American prosperity. Associations are at the heart of so many industry success. They provide professional development, lobbying, advocacy issues. They provide great forums for commerce and community. So associations are central to really the American success story. And we help associations come from the 20th century to the 21st century and help them modernize and reinvent their business models to be more successful.
Well, that's great. Certainly, the conventions have changed. What are some of the factors for a company to benefit from being with a trade association, going to events? What are some of the ways that the interaction can happen that really benefits a member company?
One of the key benefits of an association is their live events, their conferences, their trade shows, their annual meetings. They bring the entire ecosystem together. They bring people buying things, selling things, people who want to learn, people who want to teach. And they're really, I think, helping industry sectors grow and prosper in ways that they wouldn't otherwise be successful without these associations. So we think the trade show and the annual meetings are central to their success.
Yeah, you mentioned when we were chatting that about the importance. Everybody is a media organization today, a trade organization certainly, and companies today. Why has being able to present yourself, your brand, your message on the media become so important in the trade association world?
Well, if you look at what an association does, they have three assets. They have convening authority where they can bring an entire ecosystem together, number one. Number two, they provide content, education, training, development, commerce. And number three, they have media communication platforms, their website, their print, their broadcast channels, and their live media. We call events live media. So they really are at the crux of what a media organization does. And I think when you think of yourself as a media organization, it allows you to think about how you leverage those assets to greater advantage.
Hey, now you're in a great location here on Rhode Island Avenue, right, not far from the White House and K Street. Conventions and having a presence in Washington is so important. Why is Washington important in your view? And how do you as an organization, get the most out of visits here and perhaps working with Congress?
Well, the reason so many trade associations have decided to plant their flag here in Washington is because a big part of their value is advocacy and advancing legislation on behalf of the interest of the organizations they serve. So Washington's a great epicenter to be close to the hill, if you will. The other thing I'll tell you is that it's hard to cut through the noise and clutter here in Washington. So we're finding media-savvy associations are much better able to influence the hearts and minds of legislators and influencers here by using their media to greater advantage.
Very good. And Don, perhaps tell us a little bit about the services that your company performs in helping an association grow, make the transition into the 21st century.
Thanks. Well, what I'll tell you is we are focused on live media. Live media is a trade show, an event, a conference. And live media is really the original social media. It's the campfire around which we all gather. It's the third rung of Maslow's hierarchy. We have a need for belonging as human beings, and we find that live events and conferences are growing, they're thriving, and we're helping associations modernize those events so they're more engaging, more interactive, and really influencing the outcomes that an industry needs to accomplish. So we're big believers in live, human, face-to-face interaction.
And I always like to ask my guests about how they got into their field of work. How did you start working with associations and build a business now located here in the heart of Washington, D.C.?
Well, I'm an advertising and marketing guy from the very beginning, and so one of the things I've learned over the years is that print and broadcast and digital and social, all the media platforms that I think are so prevalent today are frankly trumped by the power of live media. I think live media is a much more powerful way to influence hearts and minds and change behavior. So I got very interested in this about 15 years ago and have dedicated that portion, the last really third of my career, to helping organizations use their conferences and events to greater advantage. So that's really what led me to start 360 Live Media.
Yeah, that's great. Maybe just a final thought. We see small companies, mid-sized companies, kind of being a little adverse on how to use media, how to get their message out, how to work with trade associations. Is there a basic message you have for companies that feel like they need to do more outreach, more work with associations?
Well, I think today all organizations have to be media savvy. They have to be media organizations. And as I said before, the three things that you have as an organization is your audience that you've been able to convene. You have the power of your value proposition. And then the real question comes, how do you communicate and deliver that information through what I call the media pipes? Big pipes are TV, small pipes are microsites and emails. So think about the array of media that you have at your disposal, but begin to think like a media organization, and it'll change how you do almost everything after you've shifted your mindset.
Neal from 360 Live Media, great to visit with you here in Washington, D.C.
Good. Thanks, Ken. It's good to be with you, too.
Our pleasure. This is Ken Kreitzer for CBSI Services, talking business in Washington, D.C.